Appamada and its programs are supported by your generosity, and your generosity and support makes such a difference. You can find a link for contributions on the website at appamada.org. Thank you.
Good morning, or evening, or afternoon, however this finds you. It's very nice to be here. Very nice to have these friendly faces to speak to. So thank you for being here. I wanted to start out with a couple of things that struck me this morning since I've gotten here, that seemed to be serendipitous, that went with the Dharma talk perfectly. I walked in at about 7:45 and David Burke was finishing the orientation, and he was answering someone's question, and he was saying, it's like all your senses are open, your thoughts, they're all sense organs. It's like it's one big eye. And you'll see how this relates later on, but it was great. I was really struck. I was like, wow, I wish I could give the Dharma talk now. And then the quote from Jane Hirschfield, I really loved. Begin again the story of your life. So this talk is going to be kind of a riff on a article. It's an excerpt from Norman Fisher's book, When You Greet Me, I Bow, Relationship, Emptiness, Activism, which I believe is his most recent book. He's so prolific, it's hard to tell. And then my thoughts about this, about what he says, the ideas in the article. So, I am me. I am competent. I am fat. I am aging. I'm a nurse. I'm angry. I'm a good cook. I'm bad at relationships. I'm curious. Who are we? We all have a list of answers, a litany of fixed characteristics that define me. At times, we may see these as flaws to be overcome, transformed, or managed. Other times, perhaps they're strengths, gifts, or blessings. The element that we identify with at any moment may be tied to our thoughts and feelings in that moment. And here I'd like to quote Norman. The title of the article is We Are Our Relationships. Who are we really? We're not anyone in particular. Every moment, in response to the conditions in front of us, another person, the sky, the flowers, we are created again. That's who we are, our relationship in the moment. Yes, of course, conventionally, we all have identities, commitments, loves, hates, and preferences. No one avoids that, and we wouldn't want to. But that's not all of who we are. That's the point of Zen practice, and I think of all spiritual practice, to get in touch with the person that we are beyond the person that we seem to be. I think Norman Fisher is saying that the characteristics we believe describe us are both impermanent, constantly being created over and over again, and conditional or dependent, arising from an ever-flowing combination of elements, causes and conditions in Buddhist terminology. We don't really ever come to that understanding and realization by ourselves. In Zen practice, it is understood that we enact this wisdom in our connection to one another. It's our Dharma relations, renewed moment by moment, as we meet each thing and each person and bring us to the truth and a kind of awakening within and beyond our suffering. I recently participated in a meeting of a fixed group of members that meets weekly. We've met via Zoom since the pandemic began, and at that meeting, the issue of presence was raised. What was our experience of the meeting when a regular member was absent? Did a member's contribution to the experience depend on a review of duties undertaken, responsibilities tended to? My reaction to the question was no. The experience of the meeting was the connection, the relationship and interaction of those present, the mindfulness of those absent, the words said, the expressions made, the movements, the sound of a dog bark from an unmuted audio, the sight of a cat tail crossing the screen. All of this and infinitely more created the moment, and thus each of us was created. The experience was inseparable from these particularities, with its words, reactions, sights, thoughts, feelings, and also more. I wanted to go back to the phrase that Norman used in that last quote, Dharma relations, where he says, it's our Dharma relations renewed moment by moment. Seems to me that all relations are Dharma relations. Nothing distinguishes ordinary life from Dharma except a point of view. The Lojong slogan, make practice your whole life, calls forth the intention for each relation, interaction to be a Dharma gate, an opportunity to wake up. A line from a Jimmy Dale Gilmore song comes to me often. And it took me a long time to get the pacing of this quote right in my mind so that I understood it in the way that I understand it now. But the quote is, but now I can see is the only way to be free from after a while. When you think, to quote Norman again, when you think about Zen stories, this is how they work. They're not talks given by a wise teacher. They're encounters between people. Every Zen story is the story of a meeting. It's the story of a relationship. And as we see from these stories, not necessarily conventional notions of relationship in which we are fulfilling each other's needs, but a more profound sense of our connection to one another. In that meeting, there is a connection. There is a creation, newly realized, of sharp, deep understanding. A moment created by circumstances, two beings, and the moment becomes not separate details, but a new thing, not two. Joined in spite of singularity that includes singularity. In Zen practice, to quote again, in Zen practice is itself a together practice. We're always sitting together, side by side. In classical Zen session retreat, we sit together, walk together, eat together, work together, chant together, and bow together until we become one body. This is our way in Kinhin, our walking meditation. We each walk individually, move our feet, take our particular steps, or in the case of chanting, each one holds a chant book, reads distinct words, speaks individually. And in both activities, we join, becoming attuned to the surroundings, other people, the pace, the volume, and so become one body. We and the activity create a third thing, the relationship. The gathering of details, of ordinary elements, brings forth a newness, unbounded by our separate selves, but impossible without them. To quote Norman, as we continue our practice and understand more, we realize that the separate person we are is a conventional person, and that we're also a person beyond that person. That is why our practice is all about compassion, not only in the sense that I am compassionate for you, but also in the sense that I am you. My compassion is not me being a nice guy. My compassion is me realizing who I am and knowing that having a heart of love for all creatures, all beings, even a blade of grass, is true to who and what I am. Michael Jackson sang a long time ago, "We are the world, we are the people." We are the world, we are the people. That's why we love one another, because we are one another, and there's no other way but to love one another. There's a beautiful Zen story about compassion. Yunyan, a Chan master, asked Daowu, his student, how come the Bodhisattva of compassion has so many hands and eyes? Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, is depicted as having infinite hands and infinite heads with infinite pairs of eyes. Daowu says, it's just like reaching back for your pillow in the night, which we all do. In the night, we somehow feel that the pillow needs to be different. So without thinking about it, without even saying to ourselves, I think I'll reach for my pillow, we just reach back. It's automatic. Yunyan says, oh, I understand. Daowu replies, what do you understand? Yunyan says, there are hands and eyes over all the body. Daowu says, well, that's 80%. Yunyan says, well, what do you say, elder brother? Daowu says, the whole body is nothing but hands and eyes. So says David Burke also. Our whole life and all parts of it, every moment and all of existence is nothing but compassion and love. We don't need to produce compassion. We already are compassion. All we need to do is wake up to and be who and what we are. And then naturally, we're going to have a heart of love, not only in actions that appear to be compassionate, but all the time, picking up an object with compassion, walking from one room to another with compassion, and of course, caring for one another with love. As I worked on this talk, I was making pizza. My mom and sister gather every Sunday in my mom's small house in my backyard for lunch. We catch up on grandkids and nephews and share work and body woes, listen to memories. I'm often the cook of these lunches. I love to cook. Beautiful, miraculous ingredients, activities so tangible and transformative. This Sunday's menu included pizza, which meant dough. Hooray, a treat. As I kneaded the soft, sticky ball, I became aware of being tenderly careful of the dough. Don't knead so vigorously as to tear the fibers of gluten, but to move in a way to nurture, strengthen, stretch. It was not thought out, not a conscious decision to not break fibers and then adjust my activity. It was like being an element in a moment creation and taking appropriate action, like reaching for a pillow in the night. We do this continually when we savor, when we really taste each moment. We adjust our step length in kinhin, or we slow or speed our pace in chanting. We become one body, the third thing, the not two. And to end with Norman's words, I'll close with these 3 points. First, our separate selves are not all we are. We honor them, but we learn in practice to go beyond them. Second, we always practice together. Even when we're sitting alone, we're practicing together. Third, we love this world and we love this life, and we're always trying to help in everything we do. So we have quite a bit of time left, so that's good, because I know everybody loves to have breakout rooms and chat with other people. So welcome back. Welcome back. Does anybody have anything that really struck them that they wanted to share, that they were amazed by or shocked by?
I wonder, I didn't share this with them, but I was kind of thinking about it. In your talk, I love you're talking about the dough, that kind of attention, I just love that. And wouldn't this be a different world if we were like that all the time?
Yeah.
The care and just so into it.
Yeah.
But also, I appreciated that too, and the not breaking up the gluten fibers, I guess, is how you phrased it.
Yeah.
But not because you had a plan and you adjusted, but because your, eye and hand body was, in relationship with the dough. Essentially.
Yeah, it really struck me in writing this that I was talking about appamada, about mindful, tender care.
And And if you, earlier, David was talking about that,
See?
but how care creates relationship.
Interesting, yeah. That should have been here.
Yeah, we have Rosemary over here, Anne, for when you're ready.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, everybody. Funny thing was that I was paired with Elizabeth, who is a spiritual friend, and we meet weekly. So there we were together. And in the middle of it, what struck both of us was about the pizza dough also. And one of the things, Anne, was for me was before you talked about how mindfully and carefully you worked with the dough, was your joy that it was dough and that you were going to have this lovely meal with family. That was the other piece of it. As we both were talking about being mindful in every moment. You have helped me in the sewing class to understand that everything's a practice. Like we were talking about, well, I got my ironing board out for the rakusu, and you said, well, that's a practice, Rosemary. Oh, okay. So I'm learning this. And I said to Elizabeth, well, you and me, she and I, we're a practice. Let's take a minute. Let's take a few seconds here. And, it's a beautiful thing. So thank you for that.
Nice.
And we have Jean.
I just want to say, and thank you so much for your talk. It was, I don't know, it was warm and gentle, and I don't know, nurturing for me, and also so honest, so authentic. And then, of course, splitting up into groups and having Maria and Kate were like, that was the icing on the cake. So thank you.
And we have Nelda.
Oh, there. I'm going to lower my, oh, there we go. I too want to thank you, Anne, for the talk and for creating other images of how all of our life is practice and in connectedness, including with dough. And I love when you shared that when you were in this meeting and you were looking, you were examining for yourself, what was it that created this meeting, what this person's absence, presence, the details that they brought, the list of tasks that they accomplished, and actually know it was creating something, a third thing with their presence, in addition to what they contribute. And I want to share with you that you created something and gave me something that I delighted in. You were about to say the word numerous, and you said numinous. Immediately I glowed, because that's exactly what you were talking about, taking two words, for me, the two words new and luminosity. So when we're together, create a new luminosity between us or among us. And so I now have a new word for that, and it's numinous. Thank you.
Well, if there's no one else that has anything to offer or share, I guess we can go ahead and proceed with the rest of service. So thank you all very much.